there's a meme going around online about Elon Musk possibly buying MSNBC. And he actually tweeted something rather crude, a graphic. And so sure enough, another meme comes out, and it's Rachel Maddow. This is from like another point in time where she was reacting to some sadness about migrants, etc. But they're having some fun with it. So check out the lower third. It's AI. They created it. They threw in this graphic, and I left the Elon questionable graphic out. But you'll see what I'm talking about. Take a look.
Hold on.
Ooh, so she's starting to cry. Yep, she's sniffling. She's having a hard time. And of course, you can see they put on the bottom, Elon Musk posts dangerous meme. And then you see her crying, and she doesn't quite know what to do about it all. But you know what? Like, that could happen, right? Like, that's the funny thing. For 2 seconds, you see that thing on Twitter, and you're like, wait a second, is this real? I mean, I can completely see her crying. I'm sure she was crying all weekend. I'm sure Joe and Mika were crying all weekend at the idea that Elon Musk could possibly own their company. I have some intel on that and behind the scenes what's going on, but think about it. I mean, entirely plausible. We've seen videos like this.
People are rightfully alarmed. They have a reason to be alarmed.
You got to go to
Oh, yeah. They're alarmed over on The View as well, because Elon Musk might just actually buy one of these companies. MSNBC is getting spun off in what's called spinco, this spinco entity that probably won't actually show up and be traded for about another year. And there's some tax advantages to doing this, which is why, well, and other advantages, right? Because Comcast has realized it really doesn't want to be with these cable players anymore. It doesn't like this. It doesn't like having to deal with the Joe and Mikas and the Joy Reids of the world and the Rachel Maddows once a week. And so it's saying, okay, is it really worth it? No, it's not. You know, this stuff doesn't make that much money. Take a look at the ratings. They're down 51%. Why don't we say, see you later? They sever the cord. They split off the company in quote unquote spinco, by which you get a few cable properties. You get MSNBC, you get CNBC, you get Oxygen, Sci-Fi. They all get rolled up together. Is in there. Bravo, they're keeping. The streaming network, Peacock, they're keeping. And the broadcast network, they're keeping. But everything else is going into this so-called spinco, and then they don't have to worry about it anymore. Well, could Elon materialize and just buy that? He theoretically could. And we'll dig into that a little bit more. I mean, if the offer was good enough, he certainly did it with Twitter, right? They had to entertain the idea. It's not like as a board, you can say, well, forget about it. You're Elon Musk. We don't want to have anything to do with you. So, of course, this is torturing the people over at MSNBC. He's having the best time doing it. Don Jr. tweeting out on Friday, and we talked about this, how Comcast is putting MSNBC up for sale. And he said, hey, Elon, I have a really funny idea. And then Elon responded with, hey, how much is it? Which brought everybody back to this time when he did the same thing with Twitter. And he said, how much is it? When someone said, hey, you should buy it. And then he kept the memes going like all weekend long. And then at one point he's like, you know, he tweeted something out that was kind of inappropriate. And he said, sometimes, you know, the option that basically could happen is the one that would be the most funny. In other words, wouldn't it be really, really funny? Everybody thinks so. Check out some of the other memes that made the rounds. There he is, carrying out the computers. And here he is renaming the network to XNBC. So could it happen? Would it happen? I'll tell you this. He certainly wants a free media. He believes in freedom of the press. He believes in freedom of speech. He said as much over and over again.
To say, like, if civilization is not strong, if civilization doesn't grow, then nothing else matters. You know, profits don't matter if civilization collapses. There's no profits. There's no, you know, we are not, we cannot exist absent civilization. So sometimes people may say, like, well, is this an altruistic thing? I mean, I think it's, for me, it feels altruistic, but even if one is not altruistic, even if one is very self-centered, you have to say, if you simply think long-term, you have to be pro-civilization because you cannot exist without civilization.
How important from 0 to 10?
So a big part of his thesis there is that civilization needs freedom of speech, that you need this diversity of opinion. Obviously, I agree with that. And it's a big part of why he sort of altruistically came along and offered $42 billion up for the likes of Twitter, to which as much as the employees were like, no, please don't let Elon Musk near us. And as much as maybe executives at the company didn't want anything to do with Elon Musk, they didn't have a choice. Because, well, at the end of the day, there is the Delaware law, which insists that these executives and the board do whatever is best for shareholders in terms of maximizing value. And he made an offer that, let's just say, they could not refuse. So could the same thing happen? That's what's interesting here. Could the same exact thing, of course, he's already talking about who he put in the slot. We'll get to that in a second. But how would this deal go about? I can tell you that he'd have to come up with an offer that Comcast could not refuse. In other words, Brian Roberts, who's chairman of the board there at Comcast, and Mike Kavanagh, who runs the place, would have to say, wow, this is so good that it would be, frankly, a massive lawsuit in terms of shareholders that would come after us if we don't take this deal. So one, he'd have to have a really good offer. Obviously, he could do it. He's the world's richest person. This is like chump change for him. I put the valuation somewhere. I just sort of made it up out of thin air around, 1.2 times earnings. So maybe you could call this company $7 billion. He's got $7 billion. I said, hey, Elon, you'll get CNBC too. Think about it. And sci-fi. Imagine all the great SpaceX programming we could do on sci-fi. So would he really come forward with it? Listen, you'd have to figure out not just the $7 billion, but what is the tax hit that the company, Comcast, would take if it did this deal earlier. And so then you'd have to add that money in there too. And sure, there would be, a lot of nastiness, et cetera. But I think it could happen. I think it could happen if he wants it. That's the big question. Does he really, really want this? Let's be honest. Is that really the future? I don't think so. I don't think cable programming is the future in any way, shape, or form. I think this is the future. Streaming is the future. So you can create that without having to go and buy this legacy cable company and have all these ridiculous deals that prevent you from doing exactly what I'm doing in the here and now. So maybe it doesn't make the most business sense. Would it just be fun? Sure it would. It would be so much fun, right?